Next Tuesday, our City Council will consider a variety of actions to respond to the drought conditions. The Wichita region is currently in the third year of a drought, and right now we don't know how much longer it will last or whether it'll be any more severe than it is so far. Because of that uncertainty, we recently wrapped up an exhaustive public input campaign and engaged our customers to find out what ideas they have that we should be considering in order to extend the water supply through the duration of the drought. We also consulted with an advisory committee made up of residential, business, and wholesale customers to review that public input as well as the information that we have on the condition of our two water supplies, Cheney Reservoir and the Equisbeds Aquifer. The actions proposed on Tuesday to the City Council are based on that public input as well as the input that we received from our Customer Advisory Committee. The proposals include a rebate program that will provide an incentive to homeowners and businesses that want to voluntarily reduce their water usage through high-efficiency appliances, low-flow fixtures, and smart sensors on irrigation systems. It also involves a reallocation of where we get our water, reducing the amount of water taken from Cheney by increasing how much is taken from the Equisbeds Aquifer. Finally, there are two options that are going to be before the Council to reduce water demand. One includes a penalty-based approach that was publicized last week, and there's also one that's based on a rate change in the highest rate tier, and that came at the request of our Customer Advisory Committee last week. Between now and next Tuesday, City staff will be finalizing some of the analysis and preparation of that City Council meeting on Tuesday. We have potential rain coming this weekend, and we want to make sure that we're able to fold all of the information that we get from now through the weekend into our City Council presentation. So there will be some details that won't be finalized until next Tuesday. Because staff is going to be busy with the analysis and the data gathering, we are asking that between now and next Tuesday, any media inquiries on the drought be funneled through our Public Information Office, specifically Van Williams, our city spokesperson, who can be reached at 268-4351. I imagine you probably have some questions. What can I help with?
Well, Ben, with the recent rains we just had this last week, and I understand the lake at Cheney has come up about 1.5 feet just in the last 24 to 36 hours. Will that have any influence on these restrictions?
That's one of the things that we want to consider as part of our Tuesday City Council meeting is what the latest levels are at Cheney Reservoir and how that could affect any potential changes to water demand. Since earlier this week, I believe Cheney Reservoir has increased by 7% in terms of how high it's gone up. So the storm that we had yesterday actually helped quite a bit at Cheney Lake. But again, we want to get through the weekend and see what other potential rain events we may have and how that could affect it before we're able to talk about that at length with the City Council.
Well, the bottom line is it's going to take a lot more rain than what we've seen or what we could have coming to get Cheney back to where ideally it would be, right?
Right now, Cheney, as of this morning, Cheney Reservoir is at 70% full, so it's still 30% lower than the top of the conservation pool out there. So we do need more rain than what we've had. We had a good start to the year with higher than average precipitation and some lower than average temperatures, but it's a start, it's not the end. But we're going to have more information on that and how any rain events from this weekend will affect that when we go to City Council on Tuesday.
When was the last time it was full?
Cheney Reservoir was last full in February of 2011.
How much water does it take it to get 30%?
In order for it to go up by 30%, it's probably it hasn't been determined yet. This is part of the whole unfolding analysis of.
About like 100 inches?
No, I will say when we started our drought planning back in February, when it was the conservation pool at Cheney was 58% full, we had talked it would need up to 10 to 15 inches above normal precipitation over the course of a year. That all is dependent based on how much comes down and when it comes down and where it comes down. So
temperatures and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's hot to make it more.
And that's the other thing is the temperatures can also have an effect on.
So that basically has not been determined.
It has not been determined. No.
Hey, what's this? The 1.4 million modification project, the well field.
There's a proposed $1.4 million project for modifying, actually, it's doing a design on our water treatment plant so that if we, in the event that we need to treat only a groundwater source, the Equisbeds, we would be able to do that. Right now our water treatment plant treats a blend of groundwater from the aqueous beds and then surface water from Cheney Reservoir. We're going to do a design so that in the future, if we need to, we can construct improvements to the plant in order to treat all groundwater.
Is that one of the options?
That is one of the options that are in the recommended actions.
So would that be more like that plus that? I mean, is that?
Well, right now,
Are there different combinations here?
well, no, that's a actually it's a short-term and a long-term thing. It's the design. It wouldn't be constructing any improvements. We would need to do those at a later date. But what that would help with is if Cheney's offline, how we would be able to still provide some water to Wichita.
You talked about another option of possible penalty for heavy users. How did that come into the conversation? What's the genesis of it? I mean, have you looked at other municipalities that have a similar policy? And have you done, what type of number crunching have you done that would, how that would work into the revenues and that sort of thing?
Some of those details will be covered at the City Council meeting. I will say that there's a penalty-based approach that was publicized last week. That was formulated out of public input process, where we heard from people that 69% of them supported a water restriction based on assessing penalties to people. The Customer Advisory Committee that met last week also requested that we present to the City Council an option where the highest rate tier, the Tier 3 rates, would be changed to provide an economic incentive to use less water. We'll get into the details at the Tuesday Council meeting about what rate changes that, or how that would look with rates and with revenues.
So Ben, on Tuesday, you guys, let's say the city council votes to do whatever they're gonna do, and we get more, the glass is half full here, by the way. We get more rain, will you guys revisit it and cut back on restrictions, or will it be an opportunity, or will it be, once it's set in stone, we go with it until whenever, or what?
It's important to note the glass is 70% full now out at Cheney. It'll depend on what action's taken by the City Council until we're going to be able to figure out where we go. So it'll be up in the air until Tuesday when we get any action on any of these items.
And I know it's been talked about some, and whether or not, I know it's probably maybe not necessarily your department, but what are some of the things the city has looked at as far as curbing that's water use, whether it's parks, golf courses, things that way?
And that'll be something that's also going to be discussed at the Tuesday City Council meeting, but it's a multi-departmental effort to reduce our water consumption in terms of our operations. Our Park and Recreation Department is exploring some different ways to maintain their turf and their grass types. The fire department also is scaling back some of how it uses its water, in our public works department as well. So it'll be something that affects 3 different departments, but also preserves the service level that our residents expect from us in terms of some of our core functions like firefighting.
How is the fire department scaling back how it uses water?
I think we'll cover that at the Tuesday City Council meeting.
You're going to cover a lot Tuesday, right?
We will cover a lot. Make sure to be there.
Have you had a lot, has the public spoke out a lot on this issue?
Yeah, we received a lot of input from the public. The public input process that we went through from the beginning of April to May 22nd, when our Customer Advisory Committee met, saw about 1,000 people, 950 to 1,000 people involved in the process. We had 33 different community meetings. We had 4 focus groups. We had an online town hall forum at Activate Wichita, which, if anybody's watching, activate-wichita.com is kind of a new tool that we're using across the city to get input on different community issues. So we use that for the drought. So we had a lot of people involved in a variety of forums. And some of the forums we used, like the focus group, segmented specific customer types so that we could find out how businesses feel how we should respond to the drought versus businesses that use water outdoors, how those kinds of businesses and the residential customers and our wholesale customers all feel. So we did have a pretty exhaustive process, and a lot of folks were involved in it.
A lot of interactivity between the 2 groups.
There were, yes.
So this fine thing is one of the things we have on the table. Right.
Yes.
And El Dorado?
The El Dorado option will be talked about at the Tuesday City Council meeting. One of the things we're planning on showing are some water models, how different options could fit into the drought or long-term use.